All right, we are very excited to be here with all of you. We have a great day. This is a very action-oriented day. I know some of you might be a little tired from playing trivia. We somehow had the rowdiest game of trivia last night. It got shut down by the hotel. I don't know, they had to send, I don't know how that got so wild, but I'm glad people are doing it. I know a lot of people have said to me, because we all traveled to get here, and a lot of people said, Aaron, you look so tired, you gotta get some sleep. I did get some sleep. So now if you say to me, Aaron, you need to get some sleep, guys, this is just what I look like. All right, now you're just being rude. I can't do anything more. This is how I am. But I appreciate everyone's concern, Carrie especially. Thank you for encouraging me to get some sleep. I also want to say that there are people that have still been trying to get here and just got here last night and this morning. So one, I want to say, let's give them a round of applause. They've been trying for 2 days to get here. And I will compare them to late arriving Christmas presents that are more exciting because you haven't opened all your gifts and now they're here. And so the onus is one, welcome them, but two, for everyone else, try and find them. If you just arrived either late afternoon yesterday or this morning, can you just raise your hand so people could see you? All right, so now we need to come and find you to make your trip worthwhile, all right? We'll make it worth our while to get to know you and make it worth your while. We've talked a lot about the different people that are in this room, and there are so many people have commented to me, wow, there's so many diverse people here with different backgrounds and opinions and skill sets and strengths and from all over, people you might never be in the same room with. And I know, I keep saying it's true. I mean, who would have ever thought we could get all these people who are fans of the Auburn Tigers and fans of the Crimson Tide, Alabama University football team, in the same room? I mean, these people don't get together, and we brought them here. And then on top of that, we brought all these other national leaders, which is very exciting. And then it's funny because we've heard a lot about how even if you don't know some of these folks, these are people that you should feel very aligned with, who want to help you. I'm reminded of a story of I used to collect Sports Illustrated magazines when I was a kid, and I built a collection off my brother. My brother's 8 years older, so he would keep every Sports Illustrated for 10 years, and he would get them, and then I took over his subscription. Not the swimsuit issue, which was, on a side note, created by Sports Illustrated because the editor sat around the week after the Super Bowl, said, what can we do to cheer up our readers? And that's how they ended up creating a swimsuit issue. I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying that's how it evolved. You should look that up. But separate of the swimsuit issue, here's what really happened. I had all these Sports Illustrateds, and I kept thinking they were worth money, but they were not worth anything. And I kept not letting anyone throw them out, and I would move around the country. I have all these boxes. So finally, I started having kids. And my wife was like, why we have all these Sports Illustrated? You gotta do something with these. This is annoying to carry them all around. And I said, all right. And my son was about 7 or 8, and he said, I took him downstairs. I said, Miles, pick out 10, and we'll frame them, and we'll put them on your wall, and you can have them as posters in your wall, in your room. And we were doing it, and he was having a great time, and picked Michael Jordan, and we did this and that, and we had all these people. And then my 4-year-old daughter at the time, Gabrielle, comes barging in, crying. And she's like, this is so unfair. Why does he get to have posters on his wall, and I don't get to have any posters? And I felt so bad. I said, you're totally right, Gabrielle. We will get you whatever magazine you want, whatever posters you want of any people you want. Just tell me what people you want. And she's still crying. She's like, but the problem is, I don't know any people. And I always hold on to that because I was like, you might not know all the people here, but these are your people. And that's something that I want you to hold on to. And, so we've been talking a lot, and we'll hear, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're all superheroes, you could be, we'll hear, you could be your hosts, there could be other things, but what you do have are superpowers. You have unique superpowers, and so the analogy that Christy was sharing the other day about the Avengers movies, it's not that they're all so great at solving all the problems, it's that when they all came together, they could actually solve all the problems. And that's kind of what we've been aiming here to do, bringing all these amazing leaders who have such reach and such experience and so much variety of skill sets and strengths and passion. And so, a lot of people have commented about these vests. Hopefully, you got your vest, and for our people who arrived today, you get a vest too, like Oprah. You get a vest, everyone gets a vest. And I hope you like them. A lot of people seem to like them. And one of the goals with this vest is that you would, when you leave here, one, it's a little bit chilly, so hopefully it keeps you warm. But second is when you leave this conference and you go home, and let's say you go for a walk in your neighborhood, say you have a dog, and you are walking your dog and you're at the park, and some neighbor comes up to you and says, what is this Summer Solutions Forum? What does NSLA on your vest stand for? Now, we know the real name, the official name, the name on our tax return is National Summer Learning Association. But for the purposes of this conference and the purposes of all of us, actually NSLA is a little bit of a reminder of what we're doing here and what we have been discussing and what we can hopefully do when we leave here. And so I would encourage you, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I like your vest, what is the NSLA? You should feel empowered to give the following kind of answer. You could say the N actually stands for need. Because we did a big Gallup poll a couple years ago, and it showed that one of the ways you could tell that there's such a need and so many people need summer programs is based on how many people are willing to pay out of pocket for them. And Gallup did a poll that said of 30 million kids who were in summer programs, 20 million came from families whose parents paid out of pocket to send them. That tells us something. But then there were about a third, 10 million, who were qualified for free and reduced lunch, who couldn't access these programs without our help. And if we want to close that gap, that's possible, but there's still millions of kids who can't. And we know what the needs are, and you've been discussing them, and you've been talking about how summer is the time when hunger spikes for children. If you get free meals during school year, if you're not in a summer program, you might not know where you're going to eat. And we know from talking to law enforcement, summer is the time when crime spikes, juvenile crime spikes, if you're not in a safe, structured, supervised program. And we know, and the needs go up the Maslow's ladder, and we know we have leaders here from hospitals who talk about ER visits spike in the summer for kids, emergency room visits. They get more hurt physically. And then it just keeps going, right? And then it's like math, and it's reading, and it's arts, and it's sports, and then it becomes into the self-actualization around leadership and finding jobs and getting ready for careers and all this. And so the question is not, are there lots of needs? The question is, how do we come up with programs that can kind of not pit these needs against one another? Where we're saying, oh, I'm fighting for attention and money and policy support for my one need versus your need. We are looking here for strategies and solutions that can kind of help us meet all these needs simultaneously. And it doesn't have to be on the shoulders and backs of one group and one person, but how do we do that? So that's the N, need. The S is what has been in the name of this whole conference, stands for solutions. And that's why we have these summer solution salons. And that's why this is a very curated group. We brought, who are the people with the most creative solutions we know that we could bring together, and we're gonna document it, and all your ideas, the best ideas, that's why there's scribes in all the sessions. We're gonna put into a summer solutions playbook, and we're gonna share it nationally. I'll also let you know that in the next year ahead, NSLA is gonna sponsor its own TED Talk conference, where some of the best ideas we hear here are gonna give another bigger national platform to share their creative ideas and solutions. And what's interesting about solutions is if you move from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset and from a competition mindset to a partnership mindset, you find a lot of creative solutions. And I talked last night about how we went on a tour, our staff, of more than 50 programs. And one of the programs I visited is called Camp Twin Lakes in Georgia. Dan Matthews is here. Is anyone, Dan, are you here? All right, Dan's back there. Meet Dan in Camp Twin Lake. This was an amazing program. And a lot of you are running amazing programs, but what struck me was the origin story. So you go, as I'm going to share it, Dan, if that's okay. You could correct me after, but this is how it was explained to me. A guy named Doug Hertz, who was the board chair of a group called Camp Sunshine, a summer program for kids with cancer, and they were looking for a facility to host an overnight camp for their kids. And they called up a campsite, and the campsite said, oh, sorry, we're booked. We've already rented out the facility to another camp for kids with asthma. And he just heard that. It's like, why are we pitting sick kids versus sick kids? Like, there's got to be something better. And so his creative solution was like, let me create a facility that would almost be like a timeshare, a campsite that all these different organizations working with kids with different diseases and special traumatic situations could each get their own week. And that's what they did. And they have a facility, and we toured it. And it's got, if you're in a wheelchair, you could do a ropes course. You go fishing and swimming. I mean, they have all these accommodations and infirmary, amazing. And then it was so popular that they built a second and a third facility. And now more than 80 different camps take place at these facilities. He went from competition to partnership, from scarcity to abundance. That's a creative solution. So I just want to say, this is what's in this room. And then the L, as you know, stands for leadership. You're all leaders, but it's not just leadership, it's also local leadership. People ask me all the time, how's it going in Washington? And what's going on in education in Washington? And what I like to say is, well, the good news is kids do not live and learn at the federal level. They live and learn at the local level. And that's where you all come in. And so, your programs are where the rubber meets the road, where the kids are, where the staff meet the kids, and where the communities meet the kids. And so we need to invest in more local leadership. We're trying to invest in you, you're investing in the leaders you work with. A great example of a leader who sees a need, takes action, creates a solution, and then takes the initiative to kind of implement the solution. There's a guy, and he tried so hard to get here, so he's not here, so he'll feel really bad that I'm talking about him because he comes every year. His name's Matthew Hathaway. Some of you know him. He's from near Reading, Pennsylvania. He was a teacher. Now he's a principal in the Exeter Township near Reading. And basically, almost 20 years ago, he saw his most struggling readers, his most vulnerable students, and he knew that they were going to fall behind. They weren't in anything. So he recruited all these other teachers. He said, hey, will you help me work on reading with these kids over the summer so they can be ready when September starts? And everyone said yes, but a lot of teachers had some qualifiers. They're like, listen, I'll do it, but I can't. I have my own kids. I can't work all day. It's like, no problem. He's like, and another bunch of teachers were like, listen, I'll do it, but I don't want to be in the classroom anymore. Can we do it like somewhere outside? And some other teachers said, I'll do it, but I can't be on my screen, or I don't need my blackboard. I need a break from that too. So basically, he invented this program called Teachers in the Parks, where you literally go into a gigantic park, and on every tree, there's a blanket. There's a teacher with a whiteboard, a box of books that the school assigned as part of the curriculum, and they're all working on reading from 9 a.m. They get breakfast, and they go till 12 noon, and then the local Parks and Rec come in with lunch and activities and go swimming, and all the kids, and they got 500 kids in this program every summer. And this is just something, and so that's like the leadership. That's just one person. And all of us, there's so many Matthew Hathaways who can see, identify the need, come up with solutions, and then take the leadership to make that experience happen. And then the A, if you ask us, is what we're going to talk about today, which is about alignment. And we've talked about how the data from the Gallup poll showed that in the summer, it's different. In the summer, of all the kids in these programs, these 30 million kids, 72% of them are learning not in school buildings. We love our school partners, but if our school partners are not going to reach all the kids wherever they are. They might be at Boys and Girls Club. They might be at the Parks and Rec. They might be at the Y. They're at the library. They're in public housing authorities. They're at an internship. They're at a job. We want them to be aligned with our school goals and our district goals and our needs. So then the question is, who's going to bring everybody together, which I think all of you, and that's why we invited so many coordinating groups like, at the city level that are part of the Every Hour Counts, those kinds of groups you can imagine, the PACE of New York, or anyway, we can name all of them. You know a lot of them. And then there are the state after-school networks who are here, who bring folks together. And now there's a lot of investment, big, multi-million-dollar investment in national coordination efforts to align folks. Because people have said to me, it's like, it's not that we have a lack of programs for every kid in America. We have a lack of coordination of all the programs for every kid in America. We have enough programs to get every kid into one. The challenges that we know that we're trying to find solutions for, how do we do it? And that's what I think we are all well positioned. And you met yesterday, Zion and Nabila, two students, the college students who were in the Math Corps program, who then, because we were aligned, got to be recommended by Math Corps to NSLA, and then they came to NSLA and they worked for their centers in Michigan. And Nabila now got her first full-time job offer after 10 weeks. Working last summer, and now she has a job working for her U.S. Senator back in Detroit. And so what I like about that story, there's a lot of great things about that, but is the alignment. How does a math program in Detroit connect with a kind of a coalition group in D.C. to keep the continuum of services and the opportunities over the summer going? How do we connect those dots? And that's something that I take from that wonderful partnership we have with Professor Khan's program. So if you're walking your dog and people say to you, hey, I like that vest, you could say, and they say, what does it stand for, NSLA? You could say, you know what, I was at this crazy conference. I found out there are a lot of people on my team for what I do. This is our uniform. And it's a cheat sheet, a reminder of how we're going to close America's summer opportunity gap. And it's the answer. And they say, what do you mean? You say, well, really, we need solutions, leadership, and alignment. And you are the people with the superpowers who are going to make it happen. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to all the work we do together.